Hello, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our subject readings in Philippine history. We are still in our chapter 2, which is all about the content and contextual analysis of selected primary sources in the Philippine history. So, our topic for today will be the last discussion, no? Under chapter 2. This will be the last primary source that we are going to identify or examine its context and as well as ang iyahang context. So again, this will be the last primary source that we need to examine its content and its context for us to know deeply what happened in this certain events. And we had our first primary source, which is all about a brief summary of the first voyage around the world by Magellan by Antonio Pigafetta. The second primary source was the KKK and the Kartilya ng Katipunan. Third is the reading the Proclamation of the Philippine Independence. And our previous discussion was all about a glance at the selected Philippine political caricature in Alfred Macoy's Philippine Cartoons, or the political caricature of the American era from 1900s to 1941. And now this will be the last primary source, which is all about the revisiting Corazon Aquino's speech before the U.S. Congress. So in this topic, we are going to know and witness the Cory Aquino's speech, and we can take cues not just on Cory's individual ideas and aspiration, but also the guiding principles and framework of the government that she represented. But first, let's take a look at the background of Corazon Aquino. So Maria Corazon Cory Sumulong Cuangco Aquino, mo ni iyahang complete name, was born on January 25, 1933 in Panique, Tarlac. She was born to the prominent Cuangco family. If we say prominent, mo na siya ang mga important or a famous family. And she served as the 11th, take note, 11th president of the Philippines. No? And take note that she served as the 11th president of the Philippines from February 25, 1986 until June 30, 1992. Another is that died on August 1, 2009 at Makati Medical Center at the age of 76. And she graduated at Far Eastern University. After graduating from college, Cory Aquino studied law at Far Eastern University in 1953. Okay, next. Cory Aquino, she was a Filipino politician who served as the 11th president of the Philippines and the first woman to hold that office. Again, first woman to hold that office. And she was the first democratically elected president. No? Again, first, muna ito i-highlight. Siya ang pinakauna, democratically elected president and first female president in Asia. And if I'm not mistaken, Cory Aquino was indeed the first female president not only in Asia but also in the entire world. Next, she was the most prominent figure of the 1986 People Power Revolution because Cory Aquino became a prominent figure sa Philippine history for her role in the People Power Revolution in 1986, which she led the ousting or kanang napahawa or mahawa si President Marcos and para i-restore ang demokrasya sa Pilipinas. And ang iyang pagka-11th president sa Philippines, nagmark ni siya as a significant moment in the Philippine history and paved the way for another female leaders in Asia and around the world. And also, she was named in a Time magazines as a Woman of the Year in 1986. Prior of this, she had not held any other elective office. Bisan pag wala siya prior experience in elective office or in politics, ang iyahang leadership during atong critical period sa Philippine history, she earned respect both domestically and internationally. And ang iyang presidency paved the way for the Philippines to regain its democratic and para i-inspired ang uban women in politics globally. Next is that she was married to Senator Benigno Aquino. Again ha, married to Senator Benigno Aquino Jr., the staunchest critic of the President Marcos. Yes, correct na siya nga si Corazon Cory Aquino was married or gikasal kang Senator Benigno Aquino. Prominent 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 opposition figure and the staunchest critic of President Ferdinand Marcos. Ninoy Aquino, Ninoy Aquino was a former senator and had been a vocal critic of Marcos, especially sa katong authoritarian rule and corruption na nahitabo during the terms of Marcos. And Cory Aquino emerged as a leader of the opposition after her husband assassinated on August 21, 1983, upon returning to the Philippines from exile in the United States. So, si Cory Aquino, nahimo siyang central figure in the call for democratic reforms and standing against the authoritarian rule of President Ferdinand Marcos. Ang iyang emergence as a leader was fluid, no? By the tragic event of her husband's assassination and the desire for political change sa Pilipinas. So grabe ang panghitabo, no? Wala pa ta sa mismong speech ni Cory. But before ta mo proceed sa content sa iyahang speech, ato sa balikan ng illness and death of Cory Aquino. So on March 24, 2008, Aquino's family announced that the former president had diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Upon her being earlier informed by her doctors that she had only 3 months to live, so she pursued medical treatment and chemotherapy. So, Cory Aquino, the former president of the Philippines, was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. So, unsa ning colorectal cancer? Muna siya ang disease in which ang cells in the colon or rectum grow out of control. So, she was diagnosed with this type of cancer in March 24, 2008, despite undergoing treatment, na siya undergoing treatment, including surgery and chemotherapy, medical treatment and chemotherapy. Cory Aquino passed away on August. Take note ha, passed away on August, sama ng August. Okay? Namatay siya on August 1, year 2009. Okay? Her battle with colorectal cancer brought attention to the importance of early detection and treatment of the disease. So, a series of healing masses for Aquino were held throughout the country intended for her recovery because Cory Aquino known po siya as devoted in Catholic faith and her illness garnered widespread public concern and sympathy. And also, during po nga time, ang Catholic Church, being a significant institution in the Philippines, played a central role in providing both spiritual and emotional comfort to the nation during challenging times, such as the health struggles of the prominent figures nga si Cory Aquino. In a public statement during one healing mass on May 13, 2008, Cory Aquino said that her blood test indicated that she was responding well to treatment. Her hair and appetite lost were apparent. So during sa healing on May 13, 2008. So si Cory Aquino naghatag og public statement no about sa iyang health condition. In that statement ka nag-mention siya nga ang iyang blood test indicated positive progress in response sa iyang cancer treatment that she was undergoing. However, gi-acknowledge sa niya ang some visible effects sa iyang treatment such as hair loss and loss of appetite. No, ano siya. And Maria Corazon Cory Sumulong Cuangco Aquino function as the symbol of the restoration. Again, take note, symbol of restoration of democracy and the overthrow of the Marcos dictatorship in 1986. Yes, that's correct. That Cory played a crucial role in the restoration of democracy in the Philippines. She became a symbol of people power revolution year 1986, which led to the overthrow of the long-standing authoritarian regime of President Ferdinand Marcos. Next here is this one. So the EDSA People Power Revolution, which installed Cory Aquino in the presidency, put the Philippines in the international spotlight for overthrowing a dictator through peaceful means. So the EDSA People Power Revolution in 1986 brought international spotlight, no? Attention to the Philippines, and ang kaninga event took place along the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue or EDSA, mao ni ang major highway in Metro Manila, and this event pod was lasted from February 22 to 25, 1986. Lastly, ang It's a People Power Revolution was often cited, na? Take note ha, was often cited as an inspiration for another movement advocating for democracy and human rights around the world. And Cory was easily a figure of the said revolution as the widow of the slain Marcos oppositionist and former Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. Therefore, Cory Aquino's role niya sa EDSA People Power Revolution was deeply connected sa iyahang personal history and the tragic events surrounding the assassination sa iyahang husband nga si Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. in 1983. Next, Cory was hoisted as the antithesis of the dictator. No, antithesis of dictator. Indeed, that ang candidacy ni Cory and her subsequent presidency nga nag-symbolize a break from the oppressive rule of Marcos, and that's why Cory was hoisted. No, Cory was hoisted as the antithesis of the dictator, which was Marcos. Next is Diriapod. Her image is a mourning widowed housewife who had always been in the shadow of her husband and relatives and had no experience. Take note, had no experience in politics, was juxtaposed against Marcos' statesmanship, eloquence, charisma, and cunning political skills. Si Cory was portrayed as a grieving widow nga naalay limited nga political experiences, and this was contrasted sharply kang Marcos, who was depicted as a very skilled and very charismatic statesman which kaning political abilities or kanang taong may matalinong kakayahan in terms sa politics. So nevertheless, yun pa man, Cory was able to capture the imagination of the people whose rights and freedom had long been compromised throughout the Marcos regime. So indeed, that Corazon Aquino was able to capture the imagination of the Filipino people who had suffered years of political repression, human rights, mga violation of human rights, corruption under Marcos regime. And her personal story as the grieving widow of Senator Benigno added a powerful and emotional dimension to her candidacy. And Cory Aquino became a symbol of resilience, hope, and fight for the country's democracy. This is despite the fact that Cory came from a haciendero family in Tarlac and owned vast estate of sugar plantation and whose relative occupy local and national government position. So it's true that si Cory Aquino came from a prominent and a wealthy political family in Tarlac, no? So, I mean, her family, the Cuanco family, no, had a history of involvement in both local and national government positions or politics. So what happened in the People Power Revolution of 1986? So let's see some happenings during the People Power Revolution of 1986. So the People Power Revolution of 1986 was widely recognized, no? Widely. Take note na how widely recognized around the world for its peaceful character or peaceful revolution. And the People Power Revolution of 1986 sa Philippines, it gained or nakuha ang global recognition for its peaceful and non-violent revolution. Daghang mga Filipinos ang ni gathered along EDSA nga nag-protest against the authoritarian rule of President Ferdinand Marcos. So when former Senator Ninoy Aquino was shot at the tarmac of the Manila International Airport, August 21, 1983, the Marcos regime greatly suffered a crisis of legitimacy, no? Because the protests from different sectors frequented different areas in the country. And on August 21, 1983, no, former Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr., he was assassinated at the tarmac of Manila International Airport. So the implication is that this event significantly damaged the legitimacy of Marcos regime. So the crisis of legitimacy suggests that ang government nag-face siya og severe loss of public trust and credibility due to controversial circumstances surrounding sa pagpatay kang Ninoy Aquino. And also, ang mga tao gikan sa lahi-lahi nga sectors, mapa students, religious groups, business leaders, to everyday citizen nga nag-organize and nag-participate in the revolution. And this protest were a manifestation of the widespread dissatisfaction sa Marcos government, questioning its credibility and governance, and marked a turning point in Philippine political history, eventually contributing to the People Power Revolution. So Marcos' credibility in the international community also suffered. Paired with the looming economic crisis, Marcos had to do something to prove to his allies in the United States that he remained to be a democratically anointed leader of the country. So the assassination of Ninoy Aquino not only sparked domestic turmoil, but also nakadamage po siya kang President Ferdinand Marcos on the international stage, no? Nawala or ni-down ang kredibilidad ni Marcos and an impending economic crisis threatened by the stability sa Philippines, and in response sa kanina challenges, no, and to reassure his allies in the United States, si Marcos was compelled to take actions to demonstrate that he's still the legitimate democratic leader of the country, which is Philippines. So Marcos called for a snap election in February 1986, where Cory Aquino, the widow of slain senator was convinced to run, no? Si Cory Aquino daw was convinced to run against Marcos. So, unsa dining snap election? So, if we say snap election is an election called earlier than expected or scheduled. So, in an attempt to stabilize his regime and prove his democratic legitimacy himself, Marcos, both domestically and internationally, Ferdinand Marcos nagpatawag siya og snap election in February 1896. And Cory, the widow assassinated Senator Ninoy Aquino, was persuaded to run against Marcos in this election. So, the canvassing was rigged to Marcos' favor, but the people expressed their protest. People expressed their protest against the corrupt and authoritarian government. Because during the snap election in February 1986 in the Philippines, allegations of widespread elec- electoral fraud and manipulation emerged, with the canvassing of votes, no? Canvassing of votes heavily criticized for being rigged in favor of Marcos. Leading military officials of the region and martial law orchestrators themselves, Juan Ponce Enrile and Fidel V. Ramos, plotted to take over the presidency until civilians heeded the call of the Manila Archbishop Jaime Cardinal Sin, no, and other civilian leaders gathered in EDSA. And that's correct because during the EDSA People Power Revolution in 1986, Juan Ponce Enrile was the minister. They cannot have Minister of Defense and si Fidel Ramos, the Vice Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. So this kaning mga military official in Enrile and Ramos, both of them had been associated with the Marcos regime and the implementation of martial law, and initially plotted to take over the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos. However, ang ilang plans to took an unexpected turn when Jaime Cardinal Sin, no? Mao ni ang Archbishop of Manila, nag-issue siya og call to the public na to support the rebel military leaders. In response to this call, along with the urging of the other civilian leaders, masses of ordinary Filipinos gathered at EDSA, turning the military rebellions into a people's movement. Siya. Next is the overwhelming presence of civilians in EDSA successfully turned a coup into a civilian demonstration. The thousands of people who gathered overthrew Ferdinand Marcos from the presidency after 21 years. Indeed, the overwhelming presence of civilians in EDSA during People Power Revolution in 1986 played a decisive role in turning what initially began as a military coup into a massive and peaceful civilian demonstration. So the collective action of thousands, if not millions, of Filipinos from lahi-lahi or various walks of life naghiusa along EDSA, creating a human barricade against any violent escalation. And this peaceful assembly fueled by the determination of ordinary citizens and the withdrawal of support from key military and political figures effectively led to the overthrow of Ferdinand Marcos from the presidency after his 21-year rule. So that's what happened in the People Power Revolution of 1986. So this is a picture of the new president, no? Corazon Aquino takes her oath as a president, marking the culmination of the four-day People Power Revolution in 1986. So next picture, this is the four-day event from February 22 to 25, will forever be etched in history as the Bloodless Revolution, which culminated with the end of a dictatorship that was also marked by a human rights violation. So, minani kadaghan ang mga tao during the EDSA People Power Revolution. And Cory Aquino, together with these Filipino people sa iyahang revolution. So, 1,000 of Filipinos took to the streets and clamored, no, for freedom from the two-decade iron fist rule of then President Ferdinand Marcos. Diba, Nana? And this is Ferdinand Marcos' final speech after his inauguration and before his flight to Hawaii. And Ferdinand Marcos held on the presidency from 1965 until the uprising forced him and his family to leave the country in 1986, meaning after the People Power Revolution. No? His two-decade rule saw the imposition of martial law and various human rights abuses, especially against those he deemed critical of the government. And the Marcos family here, the Marcos family, moments after taking his oath of office in ceremonies in February 25, 1986. So naadi niya si Imelda Marcos and the children of Marcos na si Bongbong, Aimee, and Irene nasa taas na diriya nga part. And now let's see and witness the content of the speech of President Corazon Aquino. This is a speech to a joint session of the U.S. Congress delivered 18th of September 1986, Washington, District of Columbia. So on 18th of September 1986, 7 months since Cory became president, she went to the United States and spoke before the joint session of the U.S. Congress. Cory was welcomed with a long applause as she talked to the podium and addressed the United States about her presidency and the challenges faced by the new republic. So, approximately 7 months into her presidency, Cory Aquino traveled to United States. During her visit, she addressed a joint session of the United States Congress. Now, this speech was a significant moment in the Philippine-American relation and an opportunity for President Aquino to share ang iyahang vision for the Philippines, update the U.S. government on the development in her administration, and of course, seek support for the country's political and economic stability. And Aquino's speech emphasized democratic values and commitment to rebuilding the Philippines after the disruptive years under the Marcos regime. So she began her speech with a story of her leaving the United States 3 years prior as newly elected wife of Ninoy Aquino. And she then told that, of Ninoy's character, conviction, and resolve in opposing authoritarianism of Marcos. She talked of the 3 times that they lost. No? She talked 3 times that they lost Ninoy, including ang katong pagkamatay niya on August 23. The first time was when the dictatorship detained Ninoy with other dissenters. So, sa dissenter, mo ning mga ni-oppose in politics or ni-oppose sa mga law in relation to the politics. So, Cory related. So, with this statement, no, the government treated him very badly, putting Ninoy Aquino in a small and stuffy cell, airless in a military camp and threatening to harm him. Despite this, Ninoy stayed for pila ka days, 43 days. They didn't tell his family where he was and making feel them like they had lost Ninoy. So kung ikaw ba naman a family ni Ninoy nga wala ka gipahibalo, di ba ka mabalaka. So this was the first detention of Ninoy Aquino. Next, Cory, diri ang part, no? Ato ano siyang i-diretso na ito basahon. I know you know how to read naman po. So Cory, no, gi-explain niya that after surviving the first detention, faced serious charges like subversion, murder, and other crimes. So he was tried by a military court, but Ninoy strongly doubted its fairness. No, the question ni Ninoy ang fairness. In protest, he went on hunger strike, refusing to eat for 40 days. No, nagfasting siya for 40 days to emphasize his objection to the proceedings. And Cory treated this event as the second time that their family lost Ninoy. So again, Drian, nagiingon nga si Ninoy, face charges subversion, mo ni siya ang attempting to undermine the government and murder and other crimes. Next. And Cory said, no, ito na siyang i-summarize that Ninoy daw faced charges like submersion and murder leading to a military commission trial, no? Leading to a military commission trial. So in response, gi-challenge si Ninoy, no? Gi-challenge si Ninoy with the authority of the commission and went on a fasting siya, viewing survival as a sign from God, no? Nga intended him for another fate. Despite the government's effort to keep him alive after his brain was affected, no? Ninoy ended his fast on 40th day. So his determination to see the fast through demonstrated his unwavering commitment to his cause. And that's the second when they lost Ninoy. So Ninoy's death was the third and the last time. Again, Ninoy's death was the third and the last time that Cory and their children lost Ninoy. So she continued. So through this passage, no, Cory Aquino, losing someone nga importante sa ilang kinabuhi was in a painful way nang dahil lang sa political circumstances. So the news came to us in Boston. Moto, no? It had to be after the 3 happiest of our lives together daw, according uh, ni Cory. So, pero ang pagkamatay daw ni Ninoy ay naging muling pagkabuhay or na-enlighten ang bansang Pilipinas at ang tapang daw and the courage and faith by which alone they could be free again. So sa kabila ng pagtawag sa kanya, no, as nothing, nothing, marag walang kwenta bitaw, mo na siya. Matud pa sa dictator na si Marcos. Ngunit 2 million people, no, ang nag-set aside sa ilahang positivity and fear or takot to actively nga ihatod sa lubong nga ni-attend sa lubong ni Ninoy. And this signifies a powerful collective action, di ba? Kibali brave soul enough kaayo ang mga Filipino na niuban sa paghatod kang Ninoy sa sementeryo. And Cory attributed the peaceful IDSA revolution to the martyrdom of Ninoy. She stated that the death of Ninoy sparked the revolution and the responsibility of offering the democratic alternative and had fallen on her shoulders. So Cory's address introduced us to her democratic philosophy, which she claimed she also acquired from Ninoy. So Cory credited the peaceful IDSA revolution to Ninoy's martyrdom, stating nga ang pagkamatay ni Ninoy was ignited the uprising and inspiring them to raise up, no, in demand for change and democracy. She expressed, no, also si Cory nag-express a sense of responsibility to provide a democratic alternative, no, democratic alternative mo na a duty that she felt had fallen on her shoulder. So Cory's address unveiled her democratic philosophy nga nag-influence siya kang Nina nga influence siya kang Ninoy in shaping her vision for the country's future and craving for democracy. So she argued. So with this statement, no, Cory Aquino expressed his unwavering belief in democracy. Grabe dyan ang iyahang belief in democracy. Following Ninoy's principle, even challenging circumstances like rigged in 1984 snap election under martial law, despite warnings from lawyers of dictator, no? Because Cory chose to engage, trusting in the people's intelligence and viewing is it as a way to prepare them for future democracy and to test or gauge the opposition's strength, even if that participating might legitimize a fraudulent process. So, kanidri po niya statement, no, gi-highlight ni Cory Aquino ang miraculous victory as a result, miraculous victory as a result of people's struggle during her speech and gidiscuss sab niya ang initial action, no? Mga initial action as the president, the newly restored president of the Philippines, no? And gi-emphasize po niya ang intention to foster reconciliation. Reconciliation after sa divisive dictatorship of Marcos. So Cory also emphasized the significance, no? Significance of its people power revolution, describing it as a limited revolution. Limited revolution. Yes, limited revolution that respected the life and freedom of every Filipino citizen. And with this, it suggests a commitment to a peaceful transition and a focus on unity in the aftermath of turbulent period in the nation's history. She also boasted of the restoration of fully constitutional government whose constitution gave utmost respect to the Bill of Rights. No? So, unsa din yung Bill of Rights? Ang Bill of Rights mo ni ang summary of fundamental rights and privileges guaranteed to a people against violation by the government. So, Cory reported to the U.S. Congress. So, niingon siya din restore democracy by ways of democracy. So, this implies that the transition from dictatorship to democracy is being carried out in accordance with democratic principles and processes. Giingon po din completing the constitutional structure. So this could mean finalizing and implementing the legal and institutional framework that governs the country under the new democratic system. And a full respect for Bill of Rights. And napudri ang kaning draft which be submitted later this year to a popular referendum. Will na siya dira, This means that the people will have a direct say in accepting or rejecting the proposed constitutional changes. And kaning election for both national and local positions, this marked a key step in the establishment of a fully functional democratic government, allowing citizens of Philippines to choose their representatives at various levels of governance. So Cory then proceeded on her peace agenda with existing communist insurgency aggravated by the dictatorial aggravated by dictatorial and authoritarian measure of Ferdinand Marcos. So if we say communist insurgency, no, tumutukoy sa isang kanabit ng mga armadong pakikibaka na pinangungunahan ng mga grupong komunista. Mga na siya. And sa kaninga challenges, si Cory Aquino embarked on a peace agenda. No? Peace agenda. Aimed resolving the insurgency, no? Insurgency through non-military means. Mana siya. So, Cory asserted, no, at ato na siyang i-summarize, no, nga, and hampered by respect for human rights, na siya di butang niya, no? Sakay pasabot ani. It suggests a disregard for principles such as individual freedoms, dignity, and fair treatment, and possibly oppressive measures that violated human rights standard. And Cory's peace agenda involves political initiatives and reintegration program to persuade insurgents to leave the countryside and return to the mainstream society to participate in restoration of democracy. And she invoked the path of peace because she believed that it was the moral path that a moral government must take. So, kining nga statement, nag-underscore ni siya about Cory Aquino's peace agenda that consists of political initiatives and reintegration program nga ang aim ani is convincing insurgents nga i-abandon ang rural areas and i-reintegrate ni siya into a mainstream society. So, the overarching goal is their active involvement in restoring democracy. So the mention of invoking the path of peace reflects Aquino's belief in the moral responsibility of a government to pursue in nonviolent means. Nevertheless, with this no kaninga statement no, nagsuggest nga despite prioritizing peace, si Cory is very firm or very matatag in her commitment sa pag-protect sa freedom and democracy when they are under threat. And that is why dili siya mo wave or dili niya palampason or talikuran once na ay magbanta against freedom and democracy. With this statement also, nag-convey ni siya like Abraham Lincoln, no? Abraham Lincoln, mo ni siya ang 16th president from United States. So si Cory recognizes the potential necessity of using force before considering mercy, and she is very determined no na to take whatever measures are required para i-safeguard ang integrity o ang freedom of her country, which is the Philippines. So with this statement also, Cory touring to address the controversial issue of the Philippine foreign debt amounting $26 billion at the time of her speech, highlights a critical financial challenge. So ang kaning debt had significantly increased during the Marcos regime, implying a legacy of financial burdens, daghan na dyan, no? Mga financial burdens that the country had to navigate. And Cory's acknowledgement and approach to this issue would be crucial in understanding her policy direction and properties in addressing the economic consequences of the past administration. And Cory expressed her intention to honor these debts despite mentioning that people did not benefit from such debt. Diba? And thus, she mentioned his protestation about the way Philippines was deprived of choices to pay those debt within the capacity of Filipino people. Ang kanina statement, no, nag-indicate that si Cory Aquino voiced her concern about the limited option available sa Philippines for paying its utang in a manner that was sustainable or manageable for its citizen. And her focus on the capacity of the Filipino people to pay those debt nga nag-highlight sa iyang concern for the economic welfare and sovereignty of her country, which is the Philippines. And she lamented. It highlights sa kaninga part, no? It highlights the situation faced by the Philippines at the time with the burden of substantial foreign debt that need to be addressed. Nag-reflect sa si Cory Aquino with her frustration with the condition to the Philippine debt or utang, which she perceived as having been incurred without direct benefits sa mga Filipino people. Next, she continued that while the country had experienced the calamities brought about by the corrupt dictatorship of Marcos, no commensurate assistance was yet to be extended sa Philippines. And she even remarked that given the peaceful character of its people power revolution, ours must have been the cheapest revolution ever. So yes, the cheapest revolution ever reflects on the peaceful nature of the uprising that led sa pagkatalsik ug pagkahawa kang Marcos in February 1986, unlike uban nga mga revolution nga involved og significant violence and destruction. Ang IDSA People Power Revolution was largely non-violent, with millions of people gathering and demonstrating demand change. And kani po niya statement about fulfilling the most difficult condition of death negotiation. Nag-refer ni siya to the restoration of democracy and ibalik ang ilang gipangandoy nga responsible government. And kanipod siya nga statement, it highlights the willingness of even the poorest and unemployed Filipinos to offer their lives for the cause of democracy. Gi-emphasize sab ni Marcos ang depth commitment among the Filipino to democratic principles and their desire for a government that was accountable and responsive to its people. So, mo ni siya. Bisan niadto si Cory Aquino sa mga slums area, hatag og food, money, mga materials, pero dili na nila kinahanglan sa mga tao. Ang ilahang need is democracy lang dyan. And kaning statement, if we say communist insurgency, ito naman yung discuss, mo na yung mga ang communist insurgency sa Philippines, mao ni ang mga armadong pakikibaka na pinangunahan ng mga NPA or New People's Army. So Cory further lamented that these problems worsened by the crippling debt because half of the country's export earning amounting to $2 billion would go to pay just the interest of the debt whose benefited the Filipino will never receive. Grabe na dyan. And Cory then asked rather compelling questions to the U.S. Congress. Mani ang mga question, no? So, ang kaninga Aquino's appeal was not just for economic assistance or debt relief, but for moral and political support as the Philippines navigated the challenges of rebuilding its institution and economy in aftermath of dictatorship. And Cory ended her speech by thanking America for serving as home to her family for what she referred to as the 3 happiest years of lives together. She enjoyed America in building the Philippines as new home for democracy and turning the country as a shining testament of our two nations' commitment to freedom. So Aquino's eloquent closing not only expressed gratitude but also laid out a vision for a future in which Philippines and the United States continue to stand together in defense of democracy. So this vision aimed to inspire both nations to work toward a relationship that was not just transactional but deeply rooted in a mutual commitment to the principles of freedom and democracy. So therefore, revisiting Corazon Aquino's speech before the U.S. Congress, it provides a compelling insight into a pivotal moments in the Philippine history and its relation with the United States. So her address not only underscored the challenges faced by the Philippines in the aftermath of the Marcos dictatorship, but also highlighted the shared values and potential for collaboration between two countries. And that is the end of our discussion. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. Thank you.